and welcome back to Prime Sports Media. My name is Andrew Hernandez, and we're at the best part of the season if you're a high school football fan here in Illinois. It's semifinal weekend this upcoming weekend. Also this week, girls basketball tips off their season as we have a couple tournaments that are tipping off this weekend. So tomorrow, the Bureau Valley Thanksgiving tournament will tip off for the girls' side, and then also the Oregon tip-off tournament will tip off also right around Wednesday as well. So a lot of fun stuff. And also this upcoming Saturday, we got the IHSA Football State Semifinals, and also this Friday, we got the 8-man state championship game as well. So we're going to be previewing the Class 1A semifinal game, a Class 3A semifinal game, and a Class 5A semifinal game. Before we get underway, I'd like to give a good shout out to a couple teams that were competing at the state tournament. 4 teams that we do follow that were competing over the weekend at the state tournament. I'd like to give a shout out to the Stockton Blackhawks. They were state runner-ups this weekend in Class 1A as well. Congratulations, ladies, as well, and good luck to, hopefully they get to have it in Stockton as well as this weekend. Their football program will be playing in the semifinals as well. And also I'd like to give a shout out to Rockford Christian and Riverdale. I'm playing in the third place game. Riverdale finished third, and Rockford Christian finishing fourth place as well. So congrats to both teams. We did see them throughout the season. We saw Riverdale as well in October when they played Erie Prophetstown, and also we did see Rockford Christian when they played Rock Falls as well. So congrats to both of you guys on a great season. So to those teams as well, I'd like to say congrats on a really great season as well. So we're going to go into the semifinals. So our first game is a matchup that I believe if you followed the Northwest Upstate Illini Conference, you probably had this matchup, I believe circled on your calendar since they last met in September. That's going to be our first matchup, and that's going to be the Stockton Blackhawks and the Lena Winslow Panthers. Alrighty. The last time they met was in week 2. Stockton won 38-14 at Lena. That was Lena Winslow's first game on their renovated turf field. So this is a matchup that I believe that a lot of fans from Lena, a lot of fans from Stockton that you do follow those schools or follow the Northwest Upstate Illini Conference in general, you might have seen, I think it's going to be the biggest matchup. Stockton, I knew they were going to be a team everyone was going to talk about back in August. This Stockton team is going to be really good. And same thing too with Lena as well. Lena last year were state runner-ups last year. And also both teams, I knew they were going to be really good in the Northwest Upstate Illini Conference. So going into this matchup, Lena has won 10 games straight so far since that game as well. So I did see Lena Winslow play back in week 3 in Rochelle when they took on the Rochelle Hubs. Looking back at that game for Lena, it was basically like, for them it was a huge win against a 5A/4A school, because sometimes Rochelle, they do bounce around from Class 4A to Class 5A as well. So it was probably, I think, one of the biggest wins that Lena Winslow's had in their program history. So both teams, we talked about them last week in their quarterfinal matchup. So Lena Winslow, they won last week versus Anawan Wethersfield down in Kewanee as well. So in their matchup, Lena won 42-20 against Anawan Wethersfield last weekend in Kewanee, and then Stockton defeated Dwight 44-0 in Stockton as well. So Stockton, they were the number 1 seed in the north side of the bracket. Lena Winslow, the number 3 seed in the bracket. So this was a matchup that I knew was going to happen, either quarterfinals, semifinals, because throughout the season it was like with some schools they were kind of they were jumping from 1A to 2A depending on where they put them or the enrollments. Because I think at the beginning of the year they had Sterling Newman. A lot of people, I thought they were going to be in the 1A bracket, but they were in the 2A bracket because I knew like, oh yeah, it's going to come down to them three. And when you get to the playoffs, it's going to come down to them three if they were in it. So I think for this matchup between Stockton and Lena, my prediction, it's going to be a good game, and I think it's going to be either a high scoring or low scoring affair. So for the NUIC, so they're making their fifth playoff state appearance as well. Whoever wins this matchup, this will be their fifth one straight this year. So the last 4 years, it's been Lena Winslow that's kind of made that appearance as well, because Lena, they're used to making it to the state championship, and even Chicago Bears Pro Football Hall of Famer Dick Butkus, they didn't call it a football dynasty in Lena Winslow, but if you do follow the Northwest Upstate Illini Conference, I'm going to say it's the best football conference in Illinois, in Northwest Illinois, Northern Illinois. It's basically one of the best, conferences at the small school level in the state of Illinois. I think it's the Northwest Upstate Illini Conference as well, but also an 8-man football. We have 2 schools from that conference playing in the 8-man state championship for the second time this year, and that's going to be Amboy and Polo. My prediction, it's going to be a fun one there down in Monmouth this weekend between the Polo Marcos and the Amboy Clippers as well. So for Stockton, I think they're going to be behind their boys, because basically over the weekend they were behind their girls as well when they were down at state playing for a state championship in volleyball. And some of their football guys might have saw them have that kind of experience. Hopefully it might fuel them up, saying that, hey, our girls had that experience in volleyball and go down to state. Let's hopefully bring that into this week, and hopefully we win this one and have that same experience like they did, Thanksgiving weekend. So this is going to be a really fun matchup in the small school level. Next up in Class 3A, we have Byron and Richmond Burton. Richmond Burton defeated Monmouth Roseville this past weekend. Byron defeated IC Catholic, but a lot of people had Byron as an underdog in Class 3A going into this matchup. But, basically, some people asked me, you think Byron's going to be IC Catholic this weekend? Basically, my answer was I knew Byron was going to, be IC Catholic, because basically, going into that matchup between them and IC Catholic, it's always, from that area, Byron and Stone Valley, it's always, every year you might have to run in from IC Catholic out of Elmhurst, because basically, Byron and IC, they played 3 times in the playoffs in the semis as well in Class 3A. They played in 2017. IC won that one 7-0. Byron won that one 15-14 in 2021, and then in 2022, IC beat them 35-0. But I knew going into that matchup, last weekend, that this Byron team is really good. It's a really good team, and going into that matchup, this weekend versus Richmond Burton, it's going to be a really good matchup as well. Richmond Burton looking to make it to the state championship for the first time since 2019, and last time they did it, they were in Class 4A. I think, this matchup for Richmond Burton, my prediction, I have to go with Byron, because I think Byron, they're going to prepare for like they're playing any other team. Basically for Richmond Burton, it's going to be on the defensive side. Richmond Burton, they're going in as the number 1 seed, and then Byron is the number 2 seed. But I think this matchup is going to be either a close one or a high-scoring game affair. For one, I think both teams, on paper look really good. Richmond Burton, they won the the Kishwaukee River Valley Conference as well. So out of that conference, when you look at, so there's only been some teams that didn't make it to the playoffs. Marengo made it to the playoffs. Out of it, I did watch Woodstock North, another team from that conference, back in the first round when they played Dixon. But I think this matchup is going to be a good one. And basically out of their schedule, they played some really good opponents. That some of the good opponents they did play was week 2. They defeated Coal City 24-20. Coal City, they made it to the quarterfinals. In 4A, they lost, I believe, this past weekend to Montini. So basically, I think it's going to be a good one. Almost every opponent they've played this year from their conference, they blow everyone except for Woodstock North, because basically they put up 21 was against Woodstock North, and that was probably the lowest they've put up as well. So I think it's going to be a fun one. I know a lot of people who follow the BNC, they'll be like, well, they're going to have Byron win this one because Byron is, they're no strangers to the semifinals. And I'm going to pick probably Byron to win that one, either in a low-scoring, high-scoring affair in this matchup. So my prediction is I'm going to say Byron. It's going to be my prediction. Next up, in Class 5A, we have Belvedere North versus Wheaton St. Francis as well. So Belvedere North, the Blue Thunder, they become the first team in the Nick 10 since 2019 to make it to the semifinals. The last team from the Nick 10 to make it to the semifinals was the Boylan Titans back in 2019. And Belvedere North, I think a lot of people up in Belvedere are going to be behind the Blue Thunder this weekend, hoping that they can make it to state as well. The last time I think a team that's made it to the Nick 10 was Boylan back in 2010, 2011. That was back when I believe Dean Lowry was at Boylan as well. If you guys don't know who Dean Lowry is, to any younger football fan out there, he's a former defensive. He's also a defensive end that went to the NFL from Boylan. He played for the Packers and also the Minnesota Vikings. I believe that he currently played. Those are only 2 teams I know he played for. I know the first time I've heard of him, he was on Green Bay and Minnesota. I know he played for Minnesota as well. So this is a matchup for Belvedere North. They defeated. So every team they've played this year, they won the Nick 10 conference. So that's the next team we're going to talk about. The Blue Thunder. They defeated 6A powerhouse Cary Grove 17-10 this past Friday night in Cary Grove. So the Nick 10 is a really good conference this year. It was really good in football. So week one they defeated Rockford Guilford 21-13 by 8 as well. And then their close game was with Hatteniga 27-24, and then they defeated. So they went unbeaten, beat everyone, swept everyone in the Nick 10. So when we look at their last 2 playoff games were really close. They defeated Canelan 30-25. I was watching that game while I was at the Dixon game, trying to keep track of all the games around the state line and also Western Illinois as well. So basically, when I was at the Dixon Coal City game, I was tracking that game because I was like, "Oh, is Canelan gonna make it or Belvedere North gonna make it?" And then this past Friday, when I first woke up on Saturday morning, I found out that Cary Grove did make it, or it was basically Friday night when I got home from Meet the Rockets, that Belvedere North is gonna make it. They made it. And basically, I'm like, because I was watching the highlights from Nick Collins over there, who worked for State Line. Josh Schumann, also a sports writer or sports reporter, used to work for one of the Rockford news stations. Also, now in the Chicago area, covering high school football there. And so their opponent will be Wheaton St. Francis. This is their 4th appearance in the semis as well. So Wheaton St. Francis, the last 2 years or maybe their third. I think it's their 3rd appearance, basically, because they did make it in 2022 when they were in 4A. Last 2 years they did make it, but they did fall short to Nazareth, who are now in 6A as well. Because last year, I remember tracking that game last year when I watched Nazareth playing Rochelle last year in Rochelle as well. And so Wheaton St. Francis, going into this matchup for the defensive side, they have probably the best receiving core in all of the Chicago area, in all the suburb area in their conference. I think they're one of the best. Probably one of the best receiving core. So we're going to go through their receiving core. So first up, they have Darnell Minovojevic, Southern Illinois bound for Southern Illinois. His older brother, Alessio, I remember watching him a couple years ago. They were probably one of the best teams I've seen come out of there, one of the best football teams. Them at Nazareth, they come out of there from their one of the best, probably the best teams I did watch, because last year I watched Nazareth and Wheaton St. Francis. I watched them, I believe, twice when they played Sterling in week 2 and also in the second round in the 5A playoffs a couple years ago. So basically, Dario Minovojevic, Southern Illinois bound, his older brother, Alessio, he's playing at Michigan State University as a quarterback. And then you have Zachary Washington, a three-star recruit, one of the top receivers in the state of Illinois. So his top 7, I believe right now, are West Virginia, Wisconsin, Ole Miss, Kansas State, Indiana, Mizzou, and Michigan State. Ian Willis, another really good receiver, Illinois State bound as well. So this is going to be, for Belvedere North's defense, you're going to go against one of the best receiving cores, possibly I can say one of the best ones in the state, because they got a lot of guys. When I look at it, I think they got a lot of guys that kind of have some looks from Division I schools, but for Belvedere North, it's going to be a really good game, and they kind of proved that basically the last couple weeks. When they went against Canelan and Cary Grove, you're gonna have like game like decisions. But I think this game is gonna be a dogfight. It's going to be a dogfight in 5A. Belvedere North. I know fans who follow the Nick 10 up there in Rockford, Manchesney Park, Freeport, all that. I don't know if they're gonna be behind Belvedere North, because this is the first time that a school from the Nick 10 has made it since 2019. And the last time, I believe, the team from the Nick 10 that's made it to the state title was 2011. I believe it was 2011. And that was when Boylan was in it. But I think, I think this is going to be a good one. This is going to be probably one of the best teams I think Belvedere North has played, all year. All year up to this point. I think it's going to be either a low-scoring, high-scoring affair game. That's going to be my prediction. And I like to see what the outcome is going to be. So for my predictions for Byron and Richmond Burton, I think it's going to be either a low-scoring or high-scoring game. Same thing, too, with Lena and Stockton. And same thing, too, with Belvedere North, Wayne St. Francis. But if I had to pick either one, I might have to go with Lena, because I think, they're going to go in. They want revenge from week 2, basically, for what they did on their home turf. I think, basically, this is the different Lena team than what they were in week 2 when they'll play Stockton. this weekend. Byron, I gotta go with Byron. So basically, all this year I said, oh yeah, I think this team could make a run. I think Byron, this year, this is their year. Hopefully, they can, hopefully they defeat Richmond Burton this weekend. And then Belvedere North, I got them winning. I'm behind the Blue Thunder. I like to see them, make a state run as well. And we'll see, hopefully, when we do the state championship previews for football next week, hopefully we get to talk about, one of the five. One of the five, hopefully we get to talk about them. Have a great night. Have a great, have a great day. Have a great week. And also, good luck to all the teams I talked about. Good luck to all the teams this weekend, and also to everyone across the state that's in the semifinals in 1A through 8A. Good luck to the coaches, the athletes as well. And play hard and have fun. Have fun on the gridiron as well. And I can't wait to talk about one of them next week for the state championship previews. Have a great one, and peace out.